Hi, everybody, and a happy Monday, and welcome back to my channel. I have been thinking the entire weekend about these beautiful words by Advocate Sesi, and they've been stuck in my head, especially since we've been dealing with this issue of the drugs and the consignments and the exhibits that were stolen in Port Shepstone. And she said something along these lines. She said these drugs were destined to be stolen. Then she went further and said that all this suggests that nothing is reliable. And indeed, nothing is reliable because after such explosive at the Madlanga Commission, we also heard that Matlala has a role to play, and apparently there's a video between him and his partner in crime, Van Veek, of them looking at some drugs and actually rejoicing that they were in possession of that. In this video, I wanted us to talk about what happened last week with the Port Shepstone drug bust, as well as the new revelation with regards to the role of Matlala through these journalists or investigators.
The allegations emerging just this week on the drug allegations is something very, very worrying. We spoke about it earlier, Pule, even on the round table on Sunday at the Madlanga Commission. We know that at one stage our sources were telling us that Mike van Wyk, the guy that was an associate or a partner of Matlala, received a video from Matlala where bricks of cocaine was being shown. He then said to Mike, "Go and get me a buyer." That hasn't come up yet as a commission.
2021, 441 kg of cocaine is intercepted. It is then transported and stored. But what happens is that later on it is stolen. And the question that remains in everyone's mind is, what went wrong? And that is what the Commission of Inquiry right now is trying to find out, or tried last week to find out as to what went wrong. And that's the thing. The problem did not only start with the storage of these consignments. The problem started from the point of interception in the Durban Harbour to the transportation thereof, concluding to the storage. Everything was a problem. Everything was a mess. And the fact that people that were on leave were found in the scene is what becomes the starter problem of this whole situation. So there is a man called David Jacobs, which is also known as Gavin Jacobs. This guy, he's a colonel. And he lacks the prerequisite experience together with his co-colleagues, and he was called. What makes the whole matters worse is that he was on leave and he was called to come and assist with the intercepted drugs. So these consignments were found and intercepted, and then this man goes to the scene. But that's the thing. When he arrives in the scene, he does not comply with the laws because, in terms of the National Instruction number 8 of 2017, along the Criminal Procedure Act and Drugs Trafficking Act, it says that number one, you need to secure the scene and the suspects. On scene documentation and photographs need to be taken. At least they got some photographs, even though it was not a person that was supposed to conduct these photographs, but they did do these photographs. Before moving or packaging anything, documents the exact position, condition, and quantity of the substance. Take clear photographs of the drugs, exactly where they were discovered, e.g., hidden inside a door panel, in a backpack, or in a table. Note down if any unique packaging, scaling, equipment, or wrapping materials are present. Inventory and weighing, sealing and tempering evidence package, transporting, and CSC packaging. So all of this, guys, was not done.
Now, sitting here today, focusing only on what you have covered with Advocate Silo, up to the point where you take the drugs out of the containers.
Yes.
Sitting here today, can you say to us that you complied fully with that national instruction?
Honestly, no, Commissioner.
No.
I haven't complied fully.
Thank you.
That inventory and weighing, it says that you must count or weigh the intercepted drugs on scene and in the direct presence of a suspect and at least one independent police witness. If operational safety permits, record the exact physical description: white powder substance, green plant material, or brown crystalline solid. Never guess or approximate, use precise metrics. All of this was not complied with by these individuals. Their non-compliance obviously led to a lot of contamination of these particular consignments and the scene itself. In the version of Mr. Jacobs, he says that he was on leave. He received a call from Colonel Duma, and that he should attend to this particular bust together with Mpangase and Nguswa. And then they failed, obviously, to ensure that they follow the proper procedure and the right individuals are there. Instead, they packed these consignments themselves in a vehicle and transported these consignments to Ispingo, then to Port Shepstone. That's the thing, guys. The biggest problem here is that they didn't follow the procedure, yes, but also another big problem is that the way they were just following up on this matter, because we also heard from the testimony of Songa, she was complaining about this whole thing of Jacobs calling her regarding them assisting with this particular situation.
They are standby duty members of 2 members per time. So on that day, I received a telephone call from Warrant Officer Ngosi, and he informed me that he has received a call from Colonel Kuzwayo, whom I have identified her as my direct commander. Colonel Kuzwayo, from the member, he indicated that Colonel Kuzwayo requested my clan lab team members to go and assist Brigadier Nyuswa's team at Isipingo for a cocaine case and to guide Brigadier Nyuswa's team on how to sample.
And she said that they don't assist the PCI in sampling. She also called Colonel Setsedi and wanted more information from the analyst regarding who was sampling the drugs and how the exhibits can be destroyed. And all of this, guys, this man is on leave. What makes it worse is that he did not even capture all the things that he did on that day properly. He did not even write properly in his note, because having a note, as I've said, is part of the procedure. And recording everything that is happening in that particular bust, it's of paramount importance. It's part and package of this particular investigation of these consignments.
Do you not consider yourself duty-bound to communicate with the relevant stakeholders so that you know what to do when you get there, who to contact and what not to do?
I should have done that, Commissioner. I did not. I took it for granted. I've been watching my members do it all along. I went there and I just did the same.
It goes back to that perception you mentioned in your affidavit that the way things were done in this operation leads one to believe that this was all deliberate. This was all part of a plan to seize those drugs, not book them in a police station, book them in a place where they are susceptible to theft and break-ins, and they have disappeared, as we know.
Yes.
Because no proper procedures were followed. Are you even bound by the national instruction applicable to drug seizures as DPCI?
Yes, definitely. The national instructions apply to the police holistically.
Now,
that's the first problem. The scene is contaminated and that they failed to even follow the proper procedure. Then we move to the second scene. The second scene is the storage. These people had many options on where to actually store these consignments. And they had Umbilo, they had Maidenhof, they had Brighton Beach, they had Durban Central. So all these stations are stations that they could have used for them to actually store these consignments. Instead, they chose to go and store them at Port Shepstone. Despite the history that Port Shepstone is not safe, there was consignments that were stolen before, and them actually hiding or putting these consignments there compromised this whole situation. Hence, they were subsequently stolen. Jacob saying that they didn't even know that actually there's a history like that in Port Shepstone. They felt like it's safe to actually take the consignment there and hand over the keys to Senona because they felt like Port Shepstone is also safe. But then we found out during cross-examination that actually there was a space in one of these stations outside of Port Shepstone, which were actually closer to where the drugs were intercepted. There was space because a month or so after this bust of 2021 in June, there's actually another bust that happened of over 900 kilograms.
They can never be justification for not asking. They cannot be. You simply made an assumption that there was no storage. You assumed that there was no storage. Am I correct? You assumed.
No, Chair.
You assumed because you never asked. It's as simple as all that. Did you ask?
Chair,
did you ask?
No, I did not.
So you assumed.
I knew it would become a problem in the future.
You assumed that they could not store the suspected contain. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why did you make such an assumption on so serious a matter?
Chair, when I escalated it to the brigadier's level.
Why did you escalated it because in paragraph 30, you already took this very strange view that you had, open quote, exhausted all avenues for close quote, for storage.
Yes.
And yet you didn't. You simply made an assumption. Is it factually correct that you had exhausted all avenues? Is that factually correct?
It's not factually correct.
So why did you say it to your superiors?
Okay.
And why do you continue to say it in your affidavit?
Chair,
why did you say that?
Chair, the reason I say it is because of the closest stations that were there were Brighton Beach.
I'll tell them to you. They were Durban Central, Brighton Beach, Maiden Wharf. And how far is Mbilo? There was also Mbilo. How far is that?
Yeah, Mbilo is not far, Chair.
Give us kilometers.
I can't estimate, but more or less.
We know the furthest, or the farthest was, we know the farthest was 24, and then there was 20, and there was lesser.
Yes.
That's about the 3 we spoke about yesterday.
Yes.
So Mbilo, would you say, is within the 24 downwards also?
I would say so, Chair.
So we're basically talking 4, and in respect of all 4, you simply made an assumption, and you've incorrectly stated it as a fact that you had exhausted all avenues. How could you say you had exhausted avenues when in fact you simply made an assumption?
Yes, I did.
They failed to book the exhibits at FSL. They failed to communicate with Pretoria FSL, which is the Forensic Science Laboratories. And when you look at the way Colonel Jacobs put it, it's as if he's blaming Mpangase because he says that Mpangase is the one that was handling the scene. But I think he must also take accountability for the role he played and also tried to discredit Hendrik Flynn, saying that Hendrik Flynn was lying with information that Hendrik Flynn provided to the commission, which is the fact that this consignment really did not have to go in Isipingo. There were other stations that could have actually catered for this particular drugs that we found, or consignments or exhibits that we found. And them actually going to Port Shepstone was actually not necessary. So here we see a situation where these guys just did what they wanted, and I don't know if this was planned or this was intentional. Because Maidenhof had a space there, and they could have kept these particular consignments. But because of Jacobs, they didn't give themselves time to actually inquire and find out if actually there's other stations that could have accommodated these particular consignments. They just did what they wanted and actually proceeded to Port Shepstone, and that's where they kept the consignment, large amounts of consignment, 41 kilograms, and it was subsequently stolen because of the issues of load shedding. There was no proper securities, the CCTV footages were not working. These people literally, I am assuming that they had the most smoothest way of actually taking these particular consignments.
You have the order wrong.
Exactly.
You would have taken up that space that the 900 subsequently took after 6 weeks.
Yes, okay.
So your space was assured, surely.
Yeah, okay.
And whoever, I think it was Colonel Sander who was responsible for the July 21 burst. That would have been his problem, not yours. Yours would have been resolved by then. So why do you worry about a burst still to happen?
I can accept that, but I still maintain, Commissioner, that the station has to cater for their own area, policing area, and more especially Maidenhof is one of the stations that regularly receives large amounts of drugs and exhibits from the harbour.
Just where's the logic in that? Where is the logic in that? Because 2 questions before, you were debating on the basis of the cumulative quantity of the 541 and the 999. Now you are told that, but you would have gotten space before the 999.
Yes.
Now I don't understand.
Okay,
what
Commissioner,
you-
yes, I got it backward, Chair. My apologies. But
I'm trying to
yes.
understand the logic of what you said just now.
Yes.
Do you accept it's completely illogical?
Okay, I got it mixed up in terms of which exhibits reach first, Chair. I
But
concede.
that was clarified.
Yes,
Lucillo
yes.
clarified to you.
Yes.
Clarified it to you.
Okay, but-
And now you started giving some other explanation, the logic of which I simply do not understand.
Okay, my point, I think, in essence, Chair, is that exhibits are continuously being entered at certain stations. Now, in the event my 541 kilos was accepted at
If the
Maiden Wharf-
triple nine, let's not even use if, because they did accept the 999.
Yes.
So I can't see why they could not have accepted your 541.
Okay.
Do you accept that?
Yes, I accept
In
it.
all probability, they would have accepted your 541.
Yes.
So what issue are we debating
Okay.
now?
Okay. Can I expand on that?
Please,
And I
yes.
hope I'm not going to annoy you, Chair, with this.
No,
but-
I'm not in the least annoyed.
Okay.
No.
I'm saying, Chair, this is how it works. If my 541 kilograms was at Maiden Wharf, and like I say, I'm not sure of the exact capacity of their safe, and now they receive 999. Most stations don't have capacity for over
That's
a ton.
Colonel Sanders' problem when he comes with the 999.
But what we should always remember as South Africans or as viewers, what you should always remember is that these drug bust guys are actually found from the point of planning. From the point of planning, police officers know because of their informants. We actually even found out today with the testimony of one of the people that are actually testifying who were in the Aeroton drug bust. But with that situation, with the Aeroton drug bust, that you actually know even before these things arrive in South Africa. From the planning, you know. So I don't know as to what did they do investigation and what did they call other stations that were close by, but and just did what they wanted to do. And you might ask yourself this question: then what happened afterwards? Who was blamed? And the people that were blamed were people that were actually also on leave, and they had to take people in a way that are known as good cops, good drug bust cops, who are doing a good jobs in this particular area of drug bust. And they thought the best person is Mr. Ethos Carl Sanders, who is the warrant officer that was working in narcotics. And his testimony was explosive. And the reason why it was explosive is because he's a good cop who was doing a really good job in the area of narcotics, of the Department of Narcotics. He has 40 years of experience in this particular area. And the way he's described himself, he says that his skill, his experience, as well as the informants that he has, are the ones that have assisted him in many years to actually assist with the drug bust.
Instituted the district process against you because you were disruptive of the drug, or rather drug dealing.
Yes, Commissioner, how else was I finding the stuff? I was obviously asking, for me, I'm saying I was asking the right questions, but for them, they were saying I was asking the wrong questions. I was finding the storage depots. I wasn't finding 1 bag, 2 bag, or 3 capsules. I was finding a ton, 200 kilos, 600 kilos, 30 kilos at a time. I was finding it in a ship out at sea before it even came to Durban. I was finding it hidden somewhere. Maybe just the way I worked, I did not share that with them. So they become suspicious of my techniques and my technology. But it was just, in actual fact, a very good working relationship with different role players and eventually some very good informers.
And he even said that during the times of COVID-19, 2020, 2021, there was a lot of drug bust and there was a lot of drugs that people were trying to bring into the country in South Africa. And he's part of the people that were assisting ensuring that those drugs are busted. But with this particular one of 541 kilograms, he was not at work and he was on leave. When they botched that whole process, they even took the consignment to Port Shepstone. He was not there. He was on leave enjoying his leave. But when he came back, he was a problem Because remember that this is a man that is known to be doing a lot of work in these particular issues of consignments. And if they allowed him, he was going to find them because he even said such like words that show that, you know what, it makes sense why they had to remove him from the department that he was working for to another department, which is the human trafficking department. And what they said, human trafficking department, they also took him to supply chain management. And what I can tell you is that this man knew a lot because he even told us that the management, senior officials, they know what actually happened.
Where you had reason to suspect that some of your colleagues, whoever they are, may be involved or have an interest in these operations. I'm not asking you to mention names, but to understand what your answer means.
Thank you, Commissioner. Prior to me being moved, this investigation of the corruption, myself and my immediate commander were not seeing eye to eye due to, let's just say, there was allegations of theft of exhibits going missing, dockets going missing. I filed a complaint like that.
About that?
Yes, Commissioner.
Yes.
And I don't think management took luck to that. That would have been the start. I then applied for a transfer from the DPCI to organised crime at the provincial head office. So it would have been to the 14th floor under it would have been under Brigadier Sabia, the same working environment. If you ask how to challenge a system as a junior, you learn quickly that you can't.
Senior officials are actually know what they happen. They know the people that have stolen these consignments. And to top it all, he said that after all of this whole thing of the 200 million worth of consignments, which was the 441 kilograms of the drugs, they then had to blame someone. They had to find someone guilty. They had to say, this is the person that did this. Because if you can't explain such a situation as the management, as General Senona, because he's the head of the Hawks in KZN, everything will point out to him. He thought it would be best for him to actually put all these officers in the polygraph test. It just so happened that all these officers that contaminated the scene did not follow the proper procedure, and the one that actually stored these consignments at Port Shepstone did nothing. But all of the sudden, Sanders is a suspect and has to avail himself for a polygraph test, which then came negative, meaning that he is actually guilty of these consignments being stolen and of corruption. Because apparently there was a whistleblower that sent an email that sent information that Sanders is actually involved in corruption and probably is a suspect in these consignments being stolen. So that is how it led to Mr. Sanders actually going through polygraph test, which was then followed by his coffee machine being stolen. He was also subject to that polygraph test because now he's seen as this corrupt official, right? He's seen as this official that just cannot be trustworthy.
Please take your time. You can start from paragraph 1.
A complaint was received on allegations of serious corruption against the above-mentioned member, who is attached to the SUNEP team at Durban Serious Organised Crime Investigation. Paragraph 2. It has been decided that Warrant Officer K.R. Sander be placed at the Provincial Support Services as from 2024-02-13 until further notice, pending the outcome of the investigation. 3. Kindly inform the member accordingly.
If he can be accused of corruption, therefore he has the capacity and the potential of stealing his own coffee machine. And that's what Senona did, subjected this poor guy to a polygraph test, which he passed with the one of the coffee machine because it is his coffee machine, of which I think almost 1 million now, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know when last did I see the figures, has been raised for him to actually replace and buy his own coffee machine again.
Made is very serious, and it goes to the heart of the terms of reference of the commission, because you implied yesterday that your superiors were moving you out of the way because you were stepping on the toes of the truck traffickers. Now, I want to try to understand that allegation. Is that an allegation you are making against General Senona? And is it something that we must put to him when he comes to give evidence on Friday?
Commissioner, I think it will eventually come out that the suspects who stole the drugs are known.
Say that again?
The suspects who stole the drugs are known.
Are known?
They are known.
Known by who?
I was informed by Colonel Jacob personally who they are. But the links to the management are known.
Management of DPCI?
Correct,
The
Commissioner.
links of the suspects who stole the drugs
Correct,
to the
Commissioner.
management of DPCI?
Correct, Commissioner.
Yes.
But now, with the consignment, he was exonerated later that there was a lot of mistakes and errors with the polygraph test that he was subjected to with regards to these consignments that were actually stolen. All the others about Jacobs, they passed the polygraph test, and guess what? Senona never took that polygraph test. Apparently, he's the one that is telling people to go do the polygraph test, people that were even on leave. He was not involved in the scene, but if people that were on leave like Sanders were actually suspects, what exonerated him? What made him think that he's not subject to this particular polygraph test?
I must add that I bore no knowledge, neither am I involved in the theft of drugs. I was questioned and polygraphed with regards to this incident. I passed the polygraph test, but I understand now it doesn't carry much weight, Commissioners, but in response to the allegation
I'm sorry, it may be of interest to you to know that there were all sorts of problems with the polygraph test.
Senona gets the keys. Then what happens to the keys? We don't know, but what we know is that this consignment gets to be stolen later on. And Mr. Sanders actually asking a lot of questions. He was trembling on toes. That is why he was pushed out of his position, because he was just asking a lot of questions with regards to this past, of which I think it is his right. He was supposed to ask. This man is a man that has been doing this work for years. It should bother him that actually they lost that large amount of consignments. And I think another thing that just makes this thing to even be more worrying, and to have officers like Carl Sanders actually be subject to this type of humiliation and bullying, is that, guys, as Sanders said, these people have an advanced form of technology. They actually can track their own consignments and how it moves from the time of the packing to when it reaches its own destination, whatever destination that it is. They have their own advanced technology, which is something that we don't have. Our Hawks don't have, our SAPS don't have, meaning that these people are 10 steps ahead.
We've intercepted drug shipments where we found their own transponder devices inside those bags. So they themselves are tracking their shipment. If it goes off the necessary paths, hey, someone's stealing my stuff. So who do they call? The police?
No,
they have better technology than we do.
Yes,
so we have to outthink them all the time.
Yes.
So as of today, we must now change our strategy again.
And mind you, these people have not even followed the procedure, and they know how dangerous these consignments can be. We've even heard from Sanders that consignments can cause a lot of serious health issues, skin issues and health issues. And them failing to even follow the proper procedure is risking themselves as well. They're risking their own lives about Jacobs, by not following the proper procedure in terms of how they got to intercept these consignments and take them to the Port Shepstone. And the fact that these consignments were also not in evidence bags, that also is another big issue, that they were not in evidence bags, and such consignments are supposed to be stored in evidence bags. or exhibit bags. They just took everything and left with it without even storing everything properly in exhibit bags.
Chemicals are toxic. You have to take the necessary precautions while handling, while dealing and processing them. That's why we have our protocols set up. But I am not the person that writes these protocols. It's chemists, doctors, forensic experts that wrote those protocols because they know as well those chemicals are deadly. And in the environment that we work in, maybe the community only sees it as drugs. It's also chemicals. And some of those chemicals aren't chemicals at all. They are substances that you and I have in our kitchens. And if you interact those chemicals in the wrong way, you will get sick.
I wanted to stick a little bit on the issue of going on leave and attending on scenes while you're on leave. This is the same, it's not a new thing. It's the same thing that even Makgotle did. Makgotle is the guy, the JMPD guy, that was on leave, said that he has a running tummy, went to the scene in Katiso Molefe's house with a JMPD vehicle and tried to stop the work of the PKTT. There's always an ulterior motive. He told no one that now he's going back on duty, including what Mr. Jacobs did. He told no one that now he's going back on duty and that, take the proper procedure to actually go and attend to this scene. He tampered with evidence in a way. Him doing that was a form of tampering with evidence because he could have done things the right way. They did not even weigh these narcotics at the crime scene before the FSL. And they are saying that they didn't do that because there was no space for them to actually do the weighing and everything that comes with the interception and the processes thereof. While Warrant Officer Sitedi is saying that on October 27, 2021, Colonel Jacobs visited his office. He found it slightly irregular that Jacobs' question focused heavily on how to destroy the cocaine exhibits before they had even been fully analyzed by the forensic laboratories. Sitedi flatly denied claims made by Jacobs that there was a pre-existing arrangement for Sitedi to accompany him to collect cocaine samples for testing, stating that there was no such conversation about collecting exhibits that has ever happened. Then we have Patience, Colonel Patience Assault. She spoke about how Colonel Jacobs contacted her repeatedly in May 2026. Jacobs was furious that Warrant Officer Mbeki Sitedi couldn't recall certain details about the stolen exhibit. She told the commission that Jacobs showed up at her office demanding to know exactly what was in Sitedi's statement. When handed a copy, Jacobs actively questioned and challenged various aspects of it. Songa testified that this heavy-handed behavior was deeply concerning and highly unusual for an officer of his caliber. Then we have Colonel Nonkululeko Khuzwayo, who testified that she initially received a request for her unit members to attend the scene of the massive cocaine interception in Isipingo. However, after consulting with Colonel Songa, it was determined that the request fell outside their forensic chemistry mandate, and her unit did not attend, illustrating the chaotic coordination and pressure surrounding the chain of custody for the narcotics earlier on. So everything was just a mess. And them even demanding statements and all of that, just for me, is a big red flag. We know that sending premature people to scene is not the first time that it happens. Even with Aeroton Drug bust, which also involves General Khan, the people that were sent in the scene did not have an idea of what is going on. They said that it was the first time they dealt with consignments of that kind. They just always find a way to botch this whole process of these busts.
Now contaminated the crime scene by instructing people to open the truck and things fall out and you're looking at the seals and things are then being taken out. But in all of that, you do not follow what the national instruction requires that a person must do. And I think it's a function of you simply not being familiar with what happens at crime scenes. When you come across a scene like that, what are you supposed to do? It's not just a simple matter of cordoning it off. It's also preserving the scene so that if it has to be used as evidence in future criminal proceedings, people need to know, what did the truck look like before? What did the container look like before it was opened? Who opened it? What happened after it was opened? What did you do after it was opened? And all of that evidently was not followed in this case.
Commissioners, I'm not disputing that, but I took a few photos. I took few photos to have the originality of the scene, the original scene, so to say, how it looked like. The only omission that I think I made is not by taking a photo of the original seal.
But that's the thing. There is a same pattern, both in Aeroton as well as Port Shepstone. The pattern here is clear, is that you need to get inexperienced people in the scene. Those people, when they arrive there, they will contaminate the scene, meaning that there's a lot of things that they will omit. There's a lot of things that they're going to do wrong, which then will make it easy for us to defend ourselves if anything goes wrong. If these exhibits are actually stolen or something happens to the exhibits, we will just say that people that are inexperienced attended to the scene. And that is just it. And that is the similarity between these two cases. Even though the difference exists there and then, but that's the first similarity, that it looks like these police officers are always doing the same thing to these drug busts, so that everything just looks like, yeah, it was just a mess, not well coordinated, things were not, or laws were not properly followed.
You're informal, you yourself call it informal. You have your alleged informal telephone discussion, undated telephone discussion with Colonel Kumalo, that I asked whether they can do this. And by the way, you've also said it's your commander, it's not you, it's actually your unit commander who's got the power, whether they call you unit commander, to do that. So it's not your discussion to have. So whatever discussion you had with Colonel Kuzoi, it doesn't count. I'm asking you about doing it by the book. The book says you do a notice or a release form, whatever that form is called. It is what is given to FSL. You didn't do that, right?
No, I'd still maintain, Commissioner, it doesn't work that way. The SAP 83A, only when the lab has possession of your exhibits, that's when they accept an 83A.
That's why I say to you, then these drugs, on your version, were destined to be stolen. Their fate was to be stolen because that lab doesn't have capacity for this quantity. And yet you are talking to them. You are asking informally, Kuzwayo, when will you destroy it? When you know they don't have capacity, according to you. You know they don't have capacity. But you keep, which doesn't make sense, that you know they don't have capacity. That's what you tell us. You know they don't have capacity, but you keep asking her, when are you going, can you destroy, or however you framed it. You keep doing that. It doesn't add up, I'm sorry. It doesn't. You can comment if you want to.
No, I'll reserve my comment, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr.
Then enters Vusumuzi Ket Matlala. We know that Vusumuzi Ket Matlala has been at the center of the many allegations that are before the Madlanga Commission. But also, he's at the center of these very allegations of the drug busts. I don't know if these drugs that were found in a video that he shared with Van Veek were actually the consignments that are in relation to Aeroton or to Port Shepstone, but it's in relation to consignments. This is what we heard from the journalist regarding the role of Matlala in this whole thing.
At one stage, our sources were telling us that Mike Van Wyk, the guy that was an associate or a partner of Vusiket Matlala, received a video from Vusiket Matlala where bricks of cocaine was being shown. He then said to Mike, go and get me a buyer. That hasn't come up yet as a commission. That particular video was retrieved from Vusiket Matlala's telephone. So again, it raises a lot of questions. What happened to those drugs? Are they back on the streets? Clearly, they were stolen by somebody. But more worrying is, if any police officials were involved, who are they and will they be charged together with the people that stole the drugs?
So Senona informed us that actually him and Vusumuzi Ket Matlala are friends. And Vusumuzi Ket Matlala also informed us at the ad hoc committee that he's friends, he's like a brother. Senona is like a brother to him. And Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi confirmed that by saying that he was told by Senona that him and Matlala actually have a brotherly relationship.
So when I asked him, I said, but You wanted to resign to join his company, and now you are telling me that he's helping you to stop the investigation. How do you know this guy? Then Senona says, we grew up together. We were playing soccer together. Then I remember I said, but you said Cat stays in Mamelodi and you are from Soshanguve. How did you grow up together? This township are far apart. He said, no, we're playing soccer together. That's how we know each other. Remember the time, I don't know the age of Cat. I don't even know how old he is. He's just telling me about they grew up together and that's how they got to know each other. So I had no reason not to believe him. So I said, so he's your brother, né? He's that close to you? He said, no, he's my brother. Then I started saying to him, but there's investigation happening in Gauteng where this Cat is got issues that are questionable about him. So you sure you're not part of the wrong? He said, no. Cat is, I know him as a clean guy, he's my brother. Even if you check the phone communication between me and him, we are brothers.
This is the man who had the keys to a place where these drugs were stolen. Then we also know that Matlala is friends with the likes of Jerry Boshoga, who has been allegedly, there is allegation that he was involved in consignments and exhibits and drugs, and that he sells those things. But that's the thing. Matlala knew of that operation, knew of that business that Boshoga is actually dealing with. And even the line of question of the Member of Parliament, Glenys Breitenbach, there's a lot of things that she said, which made me think that Matlala actually knows a lot more than what he's telling at the ad hoc committee regarding the drug busts.
Well, you knew that Mr. Boshoga was.
Yes, I know.
Do you admire people who involve themselves in the drug trade?
No, I don't.
Why?
That's what they do. I cannot dictate what other people must do with their own lives.
Now we are hearing these allegations that actually he's also very much involved and hands-on in these situations of the drug busts. And there's a clip of him, seeing these drugs and all of that situation and the shandy. All I can say is that I am not shocked because this person has been surrounded and circulated by people that have been accused of selling these particular consignments or substances. And what is worse is that you even saw the article by Times Live, which they wrote it in a way that DJ Vetties was actually blowing the whistle on the threats that he's received on his life not being safe because of Matlala, and the fact that DJ somebody was actually unalive because of the substances that we found at Port Shepstone. And that's how he was unalived and lost his life. All I can say is that everything boils back at Matlala and the people that he's related with. It boils back to that. And I'm happy that Madlanga wants Senona back there to account, because there's just a lot of questions that we have regarding his role in everything and whether Matlala has any role. Because if Matlala indeed has any role, I think that video will definitely be exposed at the Madlanga Commission. Because right now they can't expose it because all of the people that have came before the commission, what is their relationship with Matlala? But Senona, we know that there's a relationship with Matlala. And if there's a video of substances that Matlala has and has shared with someone expressing his interest in these substances, then clearly Senona might be involved, or Senona might know. Yes, he will deny, but I think that video is just going to collapse the entire testimony of Senona with regards to this bust. And I think high chances, as everybody has said, when he finishes his testimony, a van will be waiting for him outside. There's no way that he's going to survive this one. Yes, this suspension was uplifted, and now he's facing another suspension because of him being implicated in these substances that were stolen at Port Shepstone. Another issue that I also wanted to add is that remember that Khan and Matlala also have a relationship. The very Khan that is involved in the interception of those substances in Aeroton. We even heard that actually Khan received an amount of 100 millions, if I'm not mistaken, and Matlala declined and gave him something lesser. It was revealed at the Madlanga Commission during witness seized testimony.
Mr. Matlala had also, initially on the 6th of December, when we visited his house, he indicated that one of the people that he is, one of the high-ranking officials that he is close to is General Carr. So now he then indicated that there were disciplinary charges that were brought against General Khan in the SAPS, and that General Khan demanded an amount of 2.5 million from him. I do not know for what, but then he only gave him an amount of 500,000. And he also indicated that the way that General Khan demanded that 2.5 million from him, he showed to be threatening or intimidating him.
And even today, we heard from one of the colonels that appeared that actually generals are always involved in these issues of drug bust. We have a serious problems of these senior officers that are always found in these scenes. Then all of a sudden, gushy, we are hearing that there's a clip of Matlala having some drugs. Hi guys, tell me this is just a coincidence, because there is no way that the events can be like this and things can be this related, and that Matlala is always close with generals that are always finding themselves in these drug bust scenes.
This is not only one incident. Things have been happening. Things are happening. I will give an example, Commissioner. At one stage, I was deployed at the airport. I worked at the OR Tambo Airport. At one stage, we were forced to return what we confiscated there back to the owner. I've got reference to that. At one stage we confiscated the dollars at OR Tambo. We sent them to the Reserve Bank as per procedure. We were instructed to give that money because it was falsely. In fact, the presentation there, when they were declaring, they declared something else other than the dollars. But we were instructed to take them back to those who declared. So there are a lot of incidents that were happening.
I just think that it's taking an amazing and different turn that I'm really interested in. The reason why I use the word amazing is because I can't wait to hear the testimony of Senona and that clip actually be played at the Madlanga Commission, because I think that's what's going to happen. The Madlanga Commission will definitely raise that issue of that particular clip of Van Veek and Vusumuzi Matlala regarding certain substances that are connected to Port Shepstone. I don't know what you guys think about everything that has been told during the week of drug busts of Port Shepstone. And let me hear your views. Let me hear what you think. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on my next upload. Bye.